Hey guys, it's Chelsa Messenger with Picks and Parlays. We're talking football. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell if you want notifications every time we post a new video. On to the next week where we're talking Bills and Raiders. The Bills are favored in this one, -3. The total is 52.5. Both these teams 3-0 to the over. The Bills are 3-0 on the season, 2-1 against the number. And Josh Allen actually ranked second, in the NFL in passing yards, something that I would not have predicted going into this season. Vegas is 2-1 straight up and 3-0 to the over, as I mentioned. Sorry about that. Scott Rickenbach joining us now to talk this game. Scott, what jumps out to you when you look at this matchup on paper?
I think the key is the location of this game here in Las Vegas, where I live. The atmosphere out here when they opened up the stadium 2 weeks ago for that big Monday night matchup with the Saints was crazy. Now, again, I know they're not going to have the help of the home fans here in this one, but the reason I want to mention is because when we talk about the travel factor here, Buffalo, if you've ever traveled from upstate New York down to Vegas, it's not much fun. But I know what you guys are going to be thinking. Well, the Raiders were just at New England, so basically a similar travel situation. And that is true, but only to an extent, because keep in mind, Buffalo making their first cross-country road trip of the season. Not fun coming out west. Vegas happy to come back home. They've got a brand new stadium. They're still relishing in their victory over the Saints on that Monday night game. Now coming off a loss, they need to respond. And one of the keys here, in my opinion, is the situational standpoint. Vegas off of a road loss where their yardage stats were actually very nearly equal to the Patriots. And keep in mind, that's Bill Belichick's Patriots at Foxborough, a tough place to win. And Vegas was in a horrible situation scheduling wise there, coming off a Monday night game and traveling to the East Coast. The fact that the yardage stats were almost equal speaks volumes about the fact that the Vegas did play quite well in that game, except for 3 turnovers that were all fumbles. You can accept a few interceptions from time to time. It happens. It's part of football, especially in today's passing heavy game. But to put the ball on the turf, to drop it 3 times and lose those 3 fumbles, you can't win on the road doing that. And that's why they lost by 16. But that's helping to give us some line value here because they're catching a Buffalo team that won their first 2 games, were both big key divisional wins, but they played 2 bad teams. You mentioned Josh Allen's passing stats. That's one of the things he has been helped by, is that he faced the Dolphins and the Jets in the first 2 weeks of the season. And then let's talk about that matchup with the Rams. The Bills coming off of a last-second win. They were very fortunate to get it. The yardage stats in that game, Rams had 479 yards and the Bills had 300 yards before the game-winning drive. Then they went 75 yards, but got help on a very questionable late penalty call that ended up allowing them to have that shot to get into the end zone. And that's just what they did, and they won it in the final seconds. In my opinion, and historically speaking, when teams are coming off games like that, and then especially traveling a long way now for their next game on the road, they get crushed a lot of times. I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but I do like Vegas plus the points in this one as a home dog for all those reasons I just mentioned.
Right. The only thing that scares me about the Raiders is their rush defense is particularly bad. 163 yards per game, 29th in the NFL. Normally, the Bills are a team that likes to run the football and pride themselves on defense. However, this year really hasn't been the case. I think their defense is a bit overrated just because normally it's really good, but they've been allowing some points. And as you said, they've played the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Rams. Granted, the Rams are all right, but the Dolphins and Jets are not 2 teams that you should hang your hat on for beating those teams badly. Meanwhile, Las Vegas has played the Patriots, the Panthers, and the Saints, which 2 out of 3 of those are pretty good. So it should be an interesting one for sure. And we'll see if Josh Allen can continue in the conversation for MVP. I know some people are championing him over Russell Wilson. I don't know why, because I'm on the Russell Wilson boat. But anything else you'd like to add when it comes to this matchup?
Well, you bring up a good point. The Bills' defense is highly regarded, but against the Rams, they did give up almost 500 yards. And honestly, they were catching LA in a great situation to dominate them. Rams off back-to-back big wins over the Eagles and Dallas to open up the season, and then coming all the way from the West Coast going to upstate New York for that game. It wasn't a good situation for LA, and when the Bills had them down, their defense should have been able to clamp down and hang on to that lead, but they gave up almost 500 yards. So I do agree with you, though, that the Raiders' rush defense is a bit of a concern here, but I still think the line value, especially coming off of last week's results, is with Vegas, and I would take them as a home dog here, +3 in this one.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for our Bills and Raiders talk here on Picks and Parlays. Good stuff from Scott Rickenbach. Scott, thanks for joining us.